So, if you remember from yesterday, we started to talk about Hitler's invasion of Poland. And leading up to this point, there was a lot of Germans living within Poland. And Hitler charges that the Poles are abusing the Germans living in the country. This should sound familiar because he did the same thing to the Czechs. He accused the Czechs of abusing the about 3 million Germans who were living in the Sudetenland, which is a region bordering Germany in the east. It's in western Czechoslovakia, as you can see on the map that is presented to you. So he uses the same excuse, just in a different manner, to enter into Poland. On September 1st, 1939, Hitler officially enters into Poland using his new Blitzkrieg tactics. So, what was Blitzkrieg and how did it work? First thing I want to bring your attention to is to the right side. We have the Polish. The Polish army is right here. And to your left side, the advancing German attack. Now, when I say a line, the Polish line was here, I don't mean that people actually got out into the field with their guns, with their tanks, and simply waited for the Germans to approach. They were in defensive structures in cities that formed a line from the northern part of Poland all the way down to the southern part. Because if one part of the country's borders was not protected, then the Germans could simply waltz into that unprotected territory and freely roam throughout Poland. So they are forming a line of defense down the whole country to prevent the Germans from entering any way. Okay? So in this case, the first step of the Blitzkrieg was the German Air Force, the Luftwaffe, to attack Polish railroads, to attack military bases, to attack major cities in Poland, and lastly, to attack airfields. So, in this case, they are spreading chaos. They are spreading chaos in these different parts within Poland. They're getting behind these lines, and they are bombing railroads, they're bombing military bases, bombing airfields, a way to really, from the start, debilitate the enemy. After the Luftwaffe does that, the next step that happens is that on the ground, the tanks and the men start to move towards weak parts of the Polish line. So in this case, they are moving towards, as we can see, this is the German line. They have strong troops. The Polish have strong troops in the center. But then as you get to the outside of the line, they have weaker concentrations. Not as many troops. It's weaker. Not as many troops, not as many tanks. Okay? So what the Germans do is they find out those weak parts of the line, and then they attack with all of their forces. So they attack this weak part of the line, they attack this weak part of the line, and ultimately what happens as they make their attack, and because it is a weaker part, they break through that part of the line. So they have broken through the Polish line. That's the third thing that happens. Now, the next thing that the Luftwaffe does, the German Air Force say that, for instance, there are Polish reinforcements back here. So all in the back of this line, there are Polish reinforcements. So more troops and more tanks. What the Luftwaffe does is, in step 4, the Luftwaffe will then bomb any of the reinforcements behind the line to prevent the reinforcements from closing the gap in the broken line. So they are preventing, the Luftwaffe is preventing these reinforcements from getting up here and repairing that part of the line. So defeating this enemy that has broken through, defeating this enemy, pushing them back, and then ultimately repairing the line. The Luftwaffe, in step 4, they come in handy again, that Air Force. The Air Force bombs reinforcements. So, as you can see, the people on the ground and then in the air are working together. They're working in tandem at the same time. Now, because the reinforcements are not a threat to the tanks and the men on the ground, we can eliminate them because of the Air Force, the Luftwaffe, doing a fantastic job. What then happens is, in step 5, the last step of Blitzkrieg, is that these two parts of the German army then come together. So, in essence, they meet in the middle. Okay? Now, it's not as if all of the German army is going this way. Some of the German army is staying put here. So they're staying put in front of the Polish army, the stronghold of the Poles. Now, all along this broken front, so everything that I just highlighted and went over is German troops, is German tanks. So in essence, what happens is that this strong force in the middle is surrounded. They have nowhere to go. If they decide to go this way, what the German troops can do from the backside is attack them from the back and inflict heavy losses as the Polish are running away, so to speak. Also, what they could do is they could take troops from this part and bring them to here to reinforce this part of the German encirclement. So either way, it's not looking too good for the Poles. They are surrounded. They are not in a good situation. They really don't have anywhere to go. We call this encircling of enemy troops, we call this Kessels. They were termed by the Germans. That was the ultimate goal, to break through weak parts of an enemy line, get behind the larger force, and then surround and ultimately lead to, at the end, the goal of surrender. That was the ultimate goal of the Germans, to make large amounts of troops surrender at one time without having to lose a lot of men. So 2 days after Hitler's invasion of Poland, the British and French on September 3rd, 1939, declare war on Germany. Now, they do so because before Hitler's invasion, the British and French had vowed to provide support to Poland in the event of war. So whether that was war with the Russians or war with the Germans, it did not matter. They would provide the support. As such, when Germany invaded, they would provide that support by fending off the German attack. Many historians consider September 3rd, 1939 to be the start of World War II because you have the entry of what we now know as the Allied powers, the French and the British. Poland was Germany's first test of the Blitzkrieg tactic, and quite honestly, it proved to be very successful. Major fighting between German and Polish troops was over in 3 weeks, and Germany had overrun Western Poland. The Russians, in the last week of fighting, attacked from the east, grabbing some territory of Poland. And eventually, Germany took control of the west and Russia the east. Poland was no more, and the secret pact between Germany and Russia to divide Poland came to fruition.